Hi everyone, I'm Laura,
I'm Steph.
and welcome in the Sister Circle podcast, the circle where as women we share,
Learn,
grow,
heal.
and thrive. Hi Steph, how are you?
I'm very, very good. How are you?
I am super happy that we are currently recording today. And we just introduced the video. So if you can see us on YouTube, just go and then have a look. It's new for us. We're just testing it.
Before we start, I would like to acknowledge that we are currently recording on the Gadigal land here in Bondi. I would like to thank the elders, past, present, and emerging, for taking care of this gorgeous land that I have come to love and enjoy every day.
Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. I'm doing good. Can't complain. Never explain. My motto.
Is that a cop out? Never complain, never explain. Okay, I'm not telling you anything, Jude. Anyway, we are super excited because we are kicking off a new series. So if you're just joining us and if you're new on your channel, on our channel and on our podcast, welcome. And generally, we go through a topic across different weeks, which are 4 weeks. The first 2 weeks, we go to the topic, Steph and I going to the intro of the topic, introducing the topic, and then diving into the different facets of the topic through our experience. And then on the third week, generally we have a guest. And then the fourth week is what we call the pulse. It's mostly for us to check in on the last 4 weeks that have happened, and also on our key takeaway for the series.
Well, if anybody's affected by this conversation today, take care of yourself.
And also what I wanted to add is that few series ago we had Women and Anxiety that was really, really, really good. And during those episodes, we've been able to record some exercise just to be able to have some emotional regulation exercise at the end of the topic when we were talking about anxiety. And you can refer back to those episodes.
Boundaries. What comes up for you when you hear the term used?
Well,
What's the first thing that you think about?
First thing, if I'm thinking boundaries, for me is how I'm able to having separate my space, my personal space from others. Really keeping it for me.
Physical space.
Well, physical, but also emotional, in any aspect of my life, but making sure that, my rules, it's a bit too stringent, but my space, my peace is respected. And I make sure that, I'm putting that in place for people.
Oh, okay.
What about you?
It's a very, very broad topic, boundaries, because for me it's to feel a sense of respect for myself, to feel free. I am able to navigate my space mentally, spiritually, and physically.
First question would be when was the first time that you had to face boundaries, and how did you do that?
The first time, trigger warning, the first time that I can remember, I didn't have the language for it, was when somebody as a child, when another child tried to sexually touch me, and I just knew that I didn't like it. I didn't know what it was or whatever, but well, maybe I did, because you pick up stuff or whatever. And I just thought, absolutely not. I was just like, absolutely not. And yeah, that was my very first experience, 7 years old. But I had already experienced some sexual, abuse. I know that some people don't consider children doing it as abuse. For me, I absolutely do, whether they're conscious of it or not. So, and I decided myself, I think at the age of 6, I decided that it would never happen again. Because even in my adult life, when I really started to think about boundaries, I'll go back to that moment, to those moments as a child where where I realized that if I wanted something to not happen, I was the only one that could stop it.
That's really interesting that you mentioned specifically this example and in this context, because like if I would reply to the same question, like my response would be like the first time I've been faced to boundaries, probably through my mom. And since I've been really, really young, like everyone in the family is, like I have like 8 siblings, young siblings. So I'm the eldest. And then like the first 5 of us, we are women. And my mom, probably for personal reason, has always, at a really, really, really young age, taught us that no one can touch us. Even our dad cannot touch us. She will say that in front of her dad, in front of her uncle, in front of every male, and in the family, like, putting people quite uncomfortable sometimes, because we will be like, why is she bringing that? But like, like since I can remember I'm a kid, like I think I knew before I could even properly talk that no one can touch me in a way that's, it seems weird. So then like, she told me like physical boundary, like at a really young age.
And so is that so? Did you then implement that as you were living, as you were like in your life? Like, so when you were younger, you knew like nobody could touch. So you, when somebody tried to touch you, you'd be like, no, you can't touch me.
Like it never happened, to be fair, but like I knew that if it would have happened, or if like even from a guy from my age, that's the thing. That's where it took another turn. Like even from a guy that from my age, and when when you're a teen, like you discover yourself a boy.
Yeah.
Like I would be like, oh well, like this is not supposed to happen, or things like that. So that's really interesting. It seems like you came up with these boundaries by like someone crossing your boundaries.
Just how it felt, I was like, no. And I just knew that I would have been 6 years old, but I thought, if you do not, but then that became like that for everything else as well.
Yeah.
But most importantly, it was then how do you implement that with everything else? Who am I, and where do I start, and where does somebody else begin? Anyone, your mom, my parents, the people I love the most, because that's when the challenge really begins, is placing boundaries in the people that you love the most, because everybody, not just strangers or friends or whatever, everybody triggers that feeling of not having autonomy, of stressing you out unnecessarily, of feeling disrespected. Everybody triggers that. And that's what boundaries really is about becoming self-aware enough to know that, well, I come from a very big family, and it's very close, where it was in mesh. You didn't know what was your problem and what was my problem. But I from the moment I could make decisions for myself, I've made it very clear to distinguish between what is my stuff and what is other people's stuff, and that I can't carry other people's stuff.
That's really interesting that you said that, like, especially when you're like, and maybe you're not mentioning in this case, like when it's my stuff and other people's stuff, because like as much as like I've been taught like physical boundary very well, like I think that sometimes we cross boundaries, like, especially like growing up with a big family, and not like, when we were not living in a palace. So, everyone is on top of each other. Like you have to share your clothes, you have to share your space. You like, you don't have any privacy. And also like, like the same person that taught me that like, no one can touch you this way, no one can go to, this is your space, it's sacred, and things like that. Like the same person that will have no issue to just open
to do that,
my diary.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's why I think it's, and that's why I asked you, when did you implement that yourself, because as much we can be told everything, but once you know it for yourself and you feel it for yourself, you cannot tell me that if somebody do this to you, you're going to feel bad. No, I have to have a lived experience of something happening to me, even if the rest of the world thinks, oh no, that was only whatever. Like if it feels something to me, then I'm the only person that can put parameters on that and say,
don't get me wrong. When I'm saying like the same person that is teaching you boundaries, and like I think like for me, I wanted to show the irony that that's the same person that's trying
that breaks boundaries,
but that breaks as well your boundaries.
Yeah, but
like
that's
for
very
me,
common.
But for me, it was still quite clear that hey, you cannot read my stuff, or this is mine. You cannot touch it. You cannot go to my stuff. And then like we will have like proper, like you cannot take decision even for me at some point that are related to me personally, or I want to like if I want to wear tampon, or if I want to have pads, I had to be able to be like, that's not for you, that's me, and that's like that's my body, that's that's the type of conversation that I had to have all the time growing up. So I feel like like there was, and it's because there's different type of boundaries, like the physical one quite well implemented, and thanks God that's like supported me to me growing up. But then I think I will say, even like the way I was with my brothers and sisters, I will say that came up a bit later on, like me being able to implement boundaries. Like I was really good on like, I'm their big sister, I cannot just like talk to them about my boyfriend, about things like that. I would really be like I wouldn't try to have a friendship relationship with my siblings. And that's me thinking that this is how we should define that. And I think it was crossing in the fact that I had my parents really imposing in me that, hey, you're the big sister, you're the mom, you should take care of them, and things like that. So then like even in my mind it's a bit effed up, you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Like I'm being told by my parents like you're their second mom, so then like I'm acting like a mom, and I don't want my mom to sit up and talk to me about a partner, or talk to me about a relationship with my father, at least when growing up as a teen, right? So then I cannot have those type of relationship with my brothers and sisters, which I think was a big mistake. For a long time, I just had so much distance. And that's me thinking that how I cannot cross those boundaries. I cannot talk about men. And maybe, like things went the way that it went. And I have like the relation that I have with my siblings. And I'm happy with that, or it is now. But I could have been less this person that we don't touch, or that they don't really know, if that makes sense. Or like we could have been more earlier, more like more close, or more friends. I think that was missing growing up. And that's me thinking that that's the right boundaries, because it's coming from, and that's me not being able to set the boundaries with my parents. Like, hey, no, you have your role of parents, I might have my role of big sisters. Like we shouldn't mesh. It shouldn't mesh. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's all. Like it has an impact on like my relationship with my siblings. It's not a bad thing for me, because I'm quite happy still how we are now. But I just realized that okay, we could have been friends way much earlier. Does that make sense?
I thought, if anybody from my family can speak for me, they would say that I thought with them every day for freedom. Every day that I lived with my aunties for 8 years, she would say, every day she would just say that you just want freedom. That was my fight. Every single day I just wanted to be free of everything that was being put on me. Like everything that was put on me, I didn't want it. And another thing is that I trusted myself enough for me to want the level of freedom that I wanted in that time. I knew that I could do it. I always used to think they don't know what they're talking about. So I trusted myself enough to even fight for the freedom that I wanted to have. As much as that nobody could really make me do anything I didn't want to do, that was definitely certain, even to my own detriment at times. Because I felt like when I didn't have boundaries, when I didn't feel like I had the autonomy to say no to things and stuff, and I felt like there was no respect from others. That's what it felt like. You obviously don't respect me. That's how I saw it. You obviously don't respect me, and that was mainly for my family. Because if we have an agreement about something and they completely, or they'll call me for stuff that it's stressing me out, I think you don't respect me. You don't consider me. You're not considering my feelings and how I would feel about this. So I just stopped talking. That's how I learned to do it at the beginning. I just cut them off, everyone off, because that's the only way I knew how to keep myself emotionally safe. They would push through and trying to get through. I'll let him in a little bit, and that's why they're great, because they're my first teachers for this, because I'll let him back a little bit, and then everything will bounce back to what it was normal, like how it was. And then for me, it's a feeling. It's like, nah, I feel like shit. I do not like this. I don't like how I feel out of this. It doesn't matter how much I'll have cousins or other family members would praise that behavior. Like, oh, you did this for them. Oh, that's so good. Oh, you're so good. Oh, you're so good. Even though I was getting praised by that, I was thinking, no, I still feel like I betrayed myself here. I still feel like shit. Like, I don't care that it made people feel good. I don't like it. I feel like shit. I don't want to have this type of relationship where I'm accepted just by what I can do. Then in that case, I don't have a family.
Should be just by
it
just
should
because,
just be because
you are.
Yeah, because that's how it was for me growing up. My first 6 years, I didn't do anything, and it was just unconditional love. Like I wasn't. Yes, they will say like you're clever and all of that stuff, but even then there was no pressure. Nobody said that you have to do this and become. It was just I could just be. So I never grew up with that. So I think because I never grew up with nothing, and it was just like you walk in the room and everyone is just so happy to see you. I was already used to that from 0 to 6. So suddenly when it became like, oh, if you really can help your mom out, or you can do, and I just thought, I don't have a family, because that's not my idea of family. That
But
wasn't
like, did you feel like that what it was, a trade-off? Because it sounds
it,
like
it felt like that. It felt like that because it was like recognition.
if you do that, then we are gonna love you.
No, I mean that's not true, because I know that.
No, but like that is the matter is not that it's true or not. It's like how you feel about it.
It felt like even the praise felt like manipulative. That's why I bloody hated them. I love them now. I love you all now. But they will tell you for the first 10 years, I even wrote it in my diary once at home, and they found it, and I got in real trouble. I hated every single one. I couldn't wait to leave home. I was like, I just want to leave home. I don't feel connected to these people, because the way that people want me to be, what they want me to be good and do this, and then that can be rewarded in return for love. No, I was like, no, I rather not have a family. So,
and what about boundaries? Like, how have you faced boundaries from others? Like, when was the first time, and then like, how did you deal with that?
look, to be honest, I've always been very good at taking boundaries from others. The only times where it felt a bit, it always been from like a man, because it felt like a bit of a rejection. But that's the only thing that I had to really come around.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go with a bit of self-awareness here. Because like, I know exactly when was the first time. Like, it's not the first time. I think it's probably before. But I remember someone setting up this, and we're like, okay, yeah, I'm not respecting these boundaries with their time. Me being late.
Oh.
Like I had this.
Yeah, but with the lateness thing is not a boundary thing because
No, but like it's yes, it is because from someone else,
Yeah.
like it's their time when like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah.
they're waiting for you when you're supposed to finish on this time, and then like you've taken more time, and you're like, oh yeah, no, that's fine, it's
I've
carry
never
on. You
I
never been across someone that told you like, hey, like
no, they have,
okay,
but I've always given people the option to leave or to not be there because I also know that I can't really always help my lateness. Like I've always been like, look, I can not come, or I can come, or you can go, or you can. Well, I've always done that because I know that I respect that. That's how they feel. I don't feel like it's okay for me to be late and for you to wait for me, but I've always been like, I know I don't. I don't feel like that. If people have said that we're not going to wait, I'm okay with that. Like I'm okay. Like if you're not gonna wait, if you don't want me to come with you, whatever, I can make my own way there or whatever. Because I know that it's annoying to wait for someone. I remember even as a teenager, I went on a date with someone. I was really late. They went, and I was okay with it.
you're saying that every time like you've seen like you've been able to like respect people's boundaries and then like never crossed them.
No, not necessarily. They have to tell me, like, I didn't like this, X, Y, Z. Then, yeah, because sometimes you just don't know. But the first time, I have to say, I was at a boundary workshop actually, and I was paired up with this woman, and they told us, like, take a piece of string or the objects in the room and create your space, your boundary. And I just had a little string around my body and stuff. Some people had drew big spaces, like gave themselves enough space in their little thing. And this woman had piling chairs around her, to me. And I'm like, all right, calm down. Like I'm not no one's trying to get you. But that was the first time that I realized, I can, even if I think of myself as safe, the other person may not experience me as safe. So that was the first time and then I realized that, even if somebody, the other day I was walking to Coles, and there was this Asian couple, and I was walking really close behind them because I was cold and I was trying to get into Coles, and the woman just saw me behind and she jumped and she held her partner, her husband, whatever it was, and I was like, it's cool if you're scared, but I'm not trying to hurt you, but it's cool if you're scared because I could hurt you. You can only find out if I do hurt you.
And so then, just to go back to the purpose of boundaries, and then to just explore around the definition. Have you also seen have you been exposed to no boundaries people?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah. And so then okay, maybe it's not just have you, it's okay, what have you noticed and what's was a sign for you?
It's for different things. I noticed that people who don't generally have who don't have boundaries for themselves, they don't have really boundaries for other people as well. They don't know how to even notice boundaries for other people, except for one person. It has boundaries, but he has to explain himself a bit too damn much. And I'm like, never explain, never complain. I don't complain and I don't explain. No is a full sentence. It's a no. I don't have to say why. If I say it, fine, but I don't have to say why. Never explain, never complain. So I don't. And that's a motto that I had to develop first with my family. It was sometimes I could just say no. I don't have to say why I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it, and that's enough.
Yeah.
Find another way. But with other people who don't have boundaries, who especially culturally, I think, and this is my family again, culturally, I think it's expected, my father, for him to be this guy that everybody looked up to, everybody That's how he was. So therefore, he don't have a lot of boundaries when it comes to people asking him for help, for money, because he wants to be this guy. And like Oprah Winfrey calls it, the disease to please. And when it comes to intention, comes from Gary Zukav's book, The Seed to the Soul. Your intention there's a cause and effect. If you want to do something because you want other people to think you're nice, you will do it. That's the cause, and the effect is other people think you're nice, and they're gonna keep coming because they think you're nice. They're not gonna say no. Whereas for me, it was like, it doesn't matter. Like, I've been branded like cold, hard. No, I'm okay with it. Like, I'm okay with it. I'm okay. You, even if you don't think I'm a nice person, because I have peace, because the way that we were doing it before wasn't working out for me. I was stressing myself out. Your problem, one of the things I noticed with, especially with my family, their sense of urgency became my urgency. No. Like, no, you created the problem. And I can't get myself stressed out to this extent. Like, you created the problem. You deal with the problem. Don't send me your letters to read. You read it.
I agree with that. Like, it's a bit weird. Like, I'm like it's not the first time, it's not the last time, but I remember like a specific time, like with one of my ex. And I don't know if it was I think it was boundary, but I know it was triggering for me. Like, he would speak about my feeling. I wouldn't say he doesn't have boundaries, because he was able, like, something that I learned from him and that I found quite valuable insight was that he was telling me when he will like come up with an issue, I'm a bit of a fixer. So I want to like help, and then like, okay, let's do that. And sometimes like that's not what he wants. He just like maybe just want to vent, be able to just say his piece, and I'm just gonna be listening. And like maybe that's me, crossing his boundaries. To be fair, I didn't know. Like I've been used like by design, like with like people around me, family and some friends, being quite helpful in a way. And then like no one told me like, oh no, I don't want you to do that. But for him, he didn't like me to do that. So he was able to set this boundary. But in the same time, also as been taught physical boundary, I have been taught to like be able to like, okay, now we need to talk. We need to talk about our emotion at a really young age, really early on. So, you say no, explain, no complain. Like, I've been taught to be able to say like, hey, I'm not happy with that. Let's discuss about that. I've been able to like, to like, have the space to say, oh, I'm feeling about things. And then like, if I don't like it, I should just be able to say I don't like it.
Yeah, and I say no.
No, and others, like, which was quite difficult for my ex, which was not used to that. So like already like I'm a pain, because like, oh well, like like every time something she doesn't like, or like she has an issue, and like it's not like it's gonna be an argument, but it's just like, oh no, I don't want this to be done. I will put word around this. And something that was really, really, really triggering for me is you telling me, oh, I'm feeling. You putting word around, oh, I am, and like, I do that.
And why was it triggering?
Like, it's like, because I had so many like issue growing up being like, oh, Laura, you always say something. You always have something to say. You always like, then like, but I still carry on with that, because that's how I've been raised, and that's how I feel good. I need to be able to say when I'm happy, I'm not happy, I'm those kind of things. So then someone that is gonna say it for me, and it's not even true, it's just kind of driving me nuts. And my ex used to just like, like, oh yeah, you had a bad day at work. Just because I'm telling him like, hey, like, you didn't call me back when you did that. I don't like that. Yeah, you had a bad day at work. Don't take that on me. No, Jude, I'm just telling you that I don't like when you don't do that. You know what I mean? It's not the reason we broke up, but like one of the trigger for me to be like, okay, enough. After a year and a half was that him carrying on doing this, while like from the first time I met him, I'm telling him like, this is something that I don't like to to be done. So I have faced that. But like what was really interesting is I wouldn't say that he's someone that doesn't have boundaries, because he was able to also like, teach me about like what's work and doesn't work for him, and when like, this is too much on his space. But I also have seen that with him and his relationship with his parents, when like I would be like, okay, what does that mean? Like, like people can just like decide that, like they're gonna have a big rant at you, they're gonna just like scream at you, yell at you, and then you don't say anything because you're not allowed to talk to the adult, and then you come back, and then like they just don't talk for 2 weeks, and then you just come back, and then like it's normal to talk. All of those type of things like used to just makes me think like, okay, how do they manage, boundaries as well in their family dynamic?
I don't know, but it's also not up to us to tell people that to have boundaries.
That's true.
Yeah,
but you
because
see,
it's up because it's your level of comfort. Like me having boundaries is not an easy ride, because for me to have boundaries, I had to be prepared to be disowned. If that was the case,
you have to be prepared to be what? Sorry?
Disowned.
Yeah,
like to be like away from my family. That was the risk that I took. So it's very, as much as it has all of these benefits like self-respect and stress reduce, self-care and all of that, improved relationship with others, I do think it does that. But you also have to be prepared to for the relationship to die. There's also stuff there that I feel like you have to be prepared for that in order for you to do that. Because it's not to say that if you put boundaries on people that people are going to like it and respect it.
So why do you think that people don't have boundaries? Is it because they're afraid of the reaction of loved one, or like
it's validation? They want to be accepted. Their fear of abandonment, rejection.
I also think that's, like I'm thinking of the example that I gave with my ex. Like, I just think they haven't been taught.
No,
like,
not really.
No, I think like, like I remember like asking him like, okay, are you just gonna carry on like that? Is it just normal? He's like, yeah, that's how we deal with my family.
Yeah, but it's also...
And thinking that it's normal.
It could be that too, but I'm sure, look, boundaries is about feeling. It's not just because there's no such thing as like, this is what boundaries are. You shouldn't let people do X, Y, and Z. Boundaries about...
there is. There is.
No,
like,
there
sorry,
isn't.
like there is a physical one. Like there is...
Not really. It's individual based. Like, I might not like people coming, hugging me, sitting there. Someone else can be completely okay with it.
No, like this one, for this specific example, I agree with you. But like, like the one that my mom taught us, like since we were 3, I think this is like
but when we're talking about adults, like in the conversation that we were having earlier, like when we're talking about adults, there are people who go into clubs, for example, and they are okay for strangers to come up to them and kiss them. Like, you know what I mean? They find, some people even find that hot or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, but for me, that's why it's how you feel. It has to be, because I can't invent a feeling for you and say like nobody should do that. No, it's by you. How do you feel when that happens to you? Because it could be somebody, you can do something to somebody that you think is totally normal. It's even a loving gesture. And the person says, don't touch me or don't do that.
Yeah.
For me.
And that's the example with like, don't try to fix my shit.
Exactly. So like it's really is up to the individual to check. That's why it's self-awareness and critical thinking as well, because especially in a more cultural, there is individualistic cultures, and there are what's the word? What do they use for it? It's more like a community-based culture. Some people don't know where I start. My brother's problem is my problem. Like my whatever is my, but like some people don't.
Especially in African culture,
African culture, Asian culture, South Asian culture. I think Western cultures do have it as well to an extent, but it's exercised a lot more through, especially people with money, family with money. It is exercised through that. People use will against people and all that stuff. They do it in a very covert way, but they absolutely do it too. I've noticed they do it. But I would always say, how does it feel for you? Because for my grandmother, she would have everybody come stay.
Everybody what? Sorry?
Come stay at her house. Like everybody that she knew. It's fine, we'll make space in the living room, you can sleep there, whatever. Fine, whatever. And when my aunties and stuff would send her money, and she'd be like, so they'll be like, we're sending it for you and you're saying you've got no food. And she's like, what am I supposed to do? Cook food and let people watch me eat by myself. But that was her. It did the opposite for her, where it did not make her feel good to say, no, this is where her younger sisters is like, we're happy to help the family, but no one can stay at ours. Like if you don't have a place to stay, you can't stay here. That's what her sisters. My grandmother, where she was an open door, but her sister's like, anything else you can come and eat, you just can't move in here. That's their boundaries. So, but there's different reasons as well. Like, so it's the spectrum that you have to kind of. This is why it's a personal thing. Like, you have to understand your limits.
I think that's good. I think we really went in a circle around like what are boundaries, what it is to not have boundaries, why do we set up boundaries. I think like for next week we will be more on a like action based episode on like, okay, how do we set up right boundaries, what do we need, what do we have to do for this to work as well. But like just to also tie it up with like what we're currently doing, like and addressing designing for women. I will be like super keen for us to conclude on like this is a specific topic that is good for women, because I feel like like women are the one that most of the time like their boundaries are crossed, like in the physical but also like emotionally in their relationship, even with kids and things like that.
Yeah, well, I think women, particularly as they see themselves as carers or dependent. Women are dependent.
Yeah.
So I think even emotionally, even though the women are dependent emotionally to people who aren't emotionally available, like a lot of men do. Excuse me, man. I'm coming for you again. Yeah, so I think. So what was the question?
We're just trying to like, because I want to tie it up like this. It's women and boundaries. So then like like, and I think like,
look, I think it's a longer conversation, because boundaries, particularly for women, involves it's especially for women as carers, because you need to be really part of boundaries, especially my work around boundaries with my clients.
I don't think it's just for women as carers. I think it's for women.
No, because women they become automatic carers. That's why I mean, like, and they lend themselves to everything, even at work. Like, they lend that nurturing nature. They lend themselves so much that the boundaries are very blurred. So I think it's essential for women, for everything that works with us, because we just, a lot of the time, especially in this new world, we function as if like we're just normal, we're just like everybody else, like men, and we walk around and we can do everything. No, we have cycle every month. Our hormones are up and down and stuff, so we can't do the same thing. We're impacted by so many things. Like, I hear so many people that I have to, just to perk themselves up, like they use alcohol, drugs, and other medication from the doctors or whatever. So that you have to know yourself. Establishing boundaries is about really increasing self-aware and really attuning yourself spiritually, physically, and mentally to understand where is it too much. Like doing real, inventory of self, and having that physical connection with your body, because your body is a mediator that speaks for you sometimes, or that indicates for you sometimes, to really know, even if you don't have to do something about it as soon as you identify it, but you have to know, no, my body does not like this. Like, I don't like this. Then you can figure out, how do I implement this? But I don't like it. This feels a bit like, for me, it was like, this feels a little bit manipulative. And I'm talking about me as an adolescent, where my family would be like, a bit of this compliment in exchange for good behavior. No, this feels a little bit manipulated. You're trying to stir me away from doing what I want to do so you can impose your agenda. And that is something that we should look out for. But we can dive into that next week for more conversation around it. So we've come to the end of the pod. So if you do like it, do subscribe, do like, do comment, and share some of your ideas. Like, comment below to tell us what are your boundaries, what your experiences for boundaries, with boundaries, and we can talk more about it. Like, we would like to know broadly how other people feel about this particular topic. 1-800-011-511. If you need to talk to somebody, just mental health line that you can contact somebody if you need to speak to somebody about this, if you've been triggered by it. For the rest of you listening, wherever you're listening to, do speak to somebody. Find out what services are available for free or cheap, or speak to your doctor about referral if this is something that you're dealing with, because it is taxing, it is consuming, and is a very important topic for just our daily, everyday function. So we've come to the end of the pod. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. Take care of yourself.